You open the fridge, and something feels off. The bananas you placed there just yesterday have turned an odd grayish color. Your peanut butter, stiff as clay. And those onions, once crisp and fragrant, now soggy, with a faint sour smell that lingers in the air. You shut the door quickly, hoping the smell will vanish. But what if I told you? The real danger didn't start when you smelled it. It started long before, when we trusted the fridge just a little too much. Now, I don't mean to scare you. That's not why we're here. But as someone who spent more than 70 years on this earth, cooking, caring, and making mistakes, I've learned that sometimes it's the small, everyday habits that catch up with us, quietly, slowly. Until one day, we find ourselves wondering why our stomach is upset more often, why our joints ache, why we're feeling more tired, and blaming it all on just getting older. But what if it wasn't just age? What if it was that banana in the fridge? You see, our kitchens are sacred places, filled with memories. The clink of plates, the smell of a roast, the hum of the refrigerator. It all becomes part of a rhythm we've followed for decades. But here's the thing. The world has changed. Food has changed. And yes, even our bodies have changed. And that means some of the things we used to do without thinking might be hurting us now, especially as we age. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt bloated or dizzy after eating leftovers? Have you noticed that some foods just don't taste the way they used to? That your peanut butter is harder to spread, or your salad wilts faster than it should? If you've noticed any of these, you are not alone, and you are not imagining things. According to the CDC, more than 48 million Americans get sick every year from foodborne illness, and over 3,000 of them die. The majority? Seniors. People like us. The reason is simple. As we age, our immune systems slow down. Our bodies don't fight bacteria like they used to. What might cause a mild tummy ache for someone in their 30s could send someone in their 70s to the emergency room. And the refrigerator, yes, the very place we turn to for freshness and safety, can sometimes do the opposite when we don't use it wisely. That's what today is all about. Not about fear, but about awareness. Because you deserve to feel strong, safe, and confident every time you open your fridge. And you can, once you know what belongs in there and what absolutely doesn't. So stay with me. We're going to walk through 3 foods that should never be refrigerated. Yes, never. And 3 that must be kept cold to protect your health. I'll tell you why peanut butter hardens in the cold and how that can quietly make arthritis worse. Why storing onions in the fridge can invite mold that you can't see, but your body definitely feels. Why bananas lose not just flavor, but the very nutrients that protect your brain, simply by being chilled. And I'll also show you which foods must be kept cold, because skipping that could lead to dangerous bacteria, inflammation, or worse. The truth is, once I made a few small changes, I started feeling better, clearer, lighter. Like my kitchen was finally working for me, not against me. And I want that for you too. Now, if anything I've said so far sounds familiar or hits a little close to home, please let me know. Scroll down and leave a comment with the number 1 if this resonates with you, or type C if you'd like me to explain something more clearly. Your feedback helps me make these messages better for all of us. And if you find value in this story, I invite you to share it with a friend, a neighbor, or a loved one, because this isn't just about what's in your fridge. It's about how we take care of ourselves and each other in the quiet corners of our lives. So go ahead, take a deep breath. We're just getting started. Let's uncover the truth behind the fridge and reclaim your kitchen as a place of nourishment, comfort, and strength. All our lives, we've been told one thing. If you want to keep it fresh, put it in the fridge. It's advice so familiar, so simple, that we follow it without thinking. Leftovers, fridge, fruit, fridge, vegetables, fridge. As if the refrigerator were some magical vault that locks in goodness and keeps danger out. But what if it isn't? What if that very habit, born from trust, routine, and love, has been quietly working against us, not for us. You see, refrigerators are tools. Useful ones, yes, even essential. But like any tool, they must be used wisely, or they can cause more harm than good. The truth is, not all foods belong in the cold. Foods. In fact, for seniors especially, the wrong item in the wrong shelf at the wrong temperature can mean nutrients lost when you need them most, textures changing in ways that make eating difficult, and even harmful bacteria growing faster than your body can defend against. Let me give you an example. Have you ever tried to spread peanut butter right out of the fridge? It turns into a rock, doesn't it? What used to be creamy and smooth becomes stiff and crumbly. And for someone with arthritis or joint stiffness, that's not just annoying, it's painful. The simple joy of making a peanut butter toast becomes a struggle. But that's not the real problem. When you chill peanut butter, especially natural or unsweetened kinds, the healthy fats inside start to oxidize. That means the very heart-friendly oils you thought you were eating might actually be fueling inflammation instead. Imagine that. A food you've counted on to help your heart, now quietly taxing your body's defenses. Now let's talk about onions. They seem harmless enough. A staple. An ingredient that connects recipes from every culture, every generation. But whole onions stored in the fridge start to change. Their firm layers soften, moisture creeps in, and soon, without even realizing it, mold forms in places your eyes can't see. You might think you're eating something nourishing, but your body is wrestling with invisible spores, trying to fight back. As we age, our defenses are slower, less aggressive. That means what once gave us a little gas or discomfort in our 40s might now lead to a lingering infection, or worse. And bananas. Sweet, simple, comforting bananas. Chill them, and you halt the very process that makes them nourishing. The ripening stops. The sugars stay locked in starch. The antioxidants fade. You're left with a fruit that looks fine, but has lost what matters most. Its power to support your heart, your brain, your energy. These are not random examples. They are signs of a deeper truth. Cold does not always mean safe, especially not for the senior body, more fragile, more sensitive, and more dependent on nutrient-rich, easy-to-digest foods. Let's pause here and reflect. How many times in your life have you opened the fridge and reached for something out of habit, never questioning whether it actually belonged there? How many times did a tummy ache or a bout of fatigue or a foggy morning get blamed on just aging, when the real culprit was that limp salad, that funky yogurt, that oxidized fat? We've lived long enough to know that not every rule fits every person. That's wisdom. And it's time we apply that same wisdom to the way we eat and the way we store what we eat. Because in this stage of life, every meal matters more, every nutrient counts, and every food choice, no matter how small, should support strength, clarity, and calm, not take it away. Here's another thing the fridge does that no one talks about. It dulls flavor. Yes, the cold flattens taste. That's why tomatoes from the fridge taste bland. It's why fruit loses its scent. And for seniors who may already be experiencing a reduced sense of taste or smell, this dulling makes meals even less enjoyable. That's not just a matter of pleasure. It's a matter of health. When food is bland, we eat less of it. We skip meals. We snack on junk instead. And slowly, we lose weight, energy, muscle mass. All because the very thing we used to preserve food quietly stole its life. Let's take a breath here. This isn't about guilt, or regret, or throwing away everything in your fridge. It's about awareness. Because once you know what belongs in the fridge, and what doesn't, you're free. You can nourish yourself with confidence. You can enjoy food again. And you can avoid the silent costs that come from well-meaning mistakes. So here's the truth. The fridge is not a cure-all. It's a machine, a cold box. And while it's perfect for some foods, it's dangerous for others. It can protect your leftovers, but destroy your herbs. It can preserve your milk, but ruin your onions. It can chill your water, but strip your banana of its value. It's not good or bad. It's just misunderstood. And that's what this journey is about. Not blaming ourselves for what we didn't know, but embracing what we can learn today. So if you're still with me, and I hope you are, take a moment now. Look at your fridge not as a place of safety, but as a tool you can master, a space you can arrange with wisdom, a silent partner in your health, once you know how to use it. Because the fridge shouldn't be a guess. It should be a plan, a choice, your choice. And in the next section, we'll meet someone who learned that lesson the hard way and came out stronger, wiser, and more energized than they'd felt in years. But before we go on, if this section opened your eyes, even just a little, let me know. Scroll down and comment 1 if this made you pause, or type C if you'd like me to go deeper. Your story matters, your feedback matters, and you are not alone. Thomas Whitmore had never considered himself fragile. At 74, he still drove himself to the grocery store each Thursday. He kept his garden neat, mowed his own lawn, and insisted on carrying his own groceries. The neighbors admired him. "That Mr. Whitmore," they'd say. "He's got energy. He's sharp." But Thomas knew something had changed. It started quietly. A little fatigue after meals, some discomfort in his stomach. Then there were the foggy mornings, when he'd sit with a crossword for 20 minutes, unable to recall a word he'd used every day of his life. Just age, he told himself. It happens. But it didn't feel like just age. The turning point came one chilly afternoon in early spring. Thomas had made his usual lunch, peanut butter on toast with half a banana on the side. It was a habit formed in childhood, one he kept alive through widowhood and retirement. It was simple, reliable, comforting. But that day, something felt wrong. The peanut butter was stiff. He struggled to spread it, his fingers cramping from the cold. The banana, though yellow on the outside, tasted oddly sour, like it had given up. Within the hour, his stomach cramped. That night, he barely slept. A dull ache settled in his gut, and his thoughts raced. By morning, his daughter Julia insisted on taking him to the doctor. The tests came back clear, no infection, no blockage. The doctor, a young, kind man named Dr. Felix, sat with him longer than usual. He listened. Then, gently, he asked, "Mr. Whitmore, can I ask, how do you store your food?" Thomas blinked. "Like anyone, I suppose. Fridge, pantry." Dr. Felix smiled. "I only ask because you're not sick in the usual way. But your symptoms, fatigue, bloating, joint flare-ups, sound like mild inflammation. And sometimes, food storage plays a bigger role than we realize." Thomas had never heard that before. The next day, he let Julia go through the fridge with him. They found onions growing mold in the bottom drawer, wrapped in plastic from 2 weeks ago. Bananas gone gray under their skins. A jar of natural peanut butter so cold it had hardened into a paste. Leftovers from last Sunday, more than 5 days old, sitting without a label. He felt embarrassed and a little overwhelmed. Julia was gentle. "You didn't do anything wrong, Dad. You just didn't know." That night, Thomas couldn't sleep, not from pain, but from a quiet, stirring realization. If the problem wasn't just his body, if it was how he'd been feeding it, then maybe, just maybe, he could change it. The very next morning, he began, one small step at a time. He took the onions out of the fridge and placed them in a basket near the window. He bought a small hook for his bananas and kept them out in the open. He moved the peanut butter to the pantry, gave it a stir, and found it softening after just a day. He labeled every leftover, dated it, tossed anything older than 3 days, and he read. Not articles for experts, but simple guides. Foods that spoil fast. How to protect nutrients in aging. Smart kitchen habits after 60. Within a week, he noticed something. His stomach felt calmer. He wasn't waking up bloated. His energy came back, slowly at first, like sunlight through clouds. But most of all, the fog began to lift. He sat down with his crossword on the 10th morning and filled it out in 15 minutes. No blank spaces, no hesitation. He smiled to himself. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't medicine. It was just knowledge and care. By week 3, Thomas started cooking again. Real meals, grilled fish, steamed vegetables, fresh fruit on the side. His grandson, Sam, came over one Sunday, expecting sandwiches. Instead, he got lemon chicken with roasted carrots. "This is good, Grandpa," Sam said, wide-eyed. Thomas beamed. "Learned it from your grandma, and a little from my doctor." He kept a small list on his fridge now, not of foods to refrigerate, but of ones not to. And beside it, a quote he wrote in his own hand. "Your kitchen can heal or harm. Choose wisely." At his next doctor's visit, Dr. Felix smiled. "You look younger, Thomas." He chuckled. "I feel it." The story of Thomas Whitmore isn't rare. It's not sensational, but it's real. It's the story of someone like you, like me, who believed what we were told, followed the rules, and never thought to question, until our bodies forced us to. But the lesson isn't about blame. It's about possibility. The body, even in its later years, wants to heal. It can heal, but it needs the right tools, the right food, the right storage, the right attention to the little things that add up to everything. If you've ever felt like Thomas, tired, foggy, unsure why your old habits aren't working anymore, I want you to know, you are not broken. You may just be missing one piece of the puzzle, and you can find it, starting right now. Dangerous mistake. Number 1, refrigerating peanut butter. It seems innocent enough. A jar of peanut butter, creamy, nutty, comforting. You've probably eaten it for decades, on toast, with apple slices, maybe even straight from the spoon. So when the jar is half finished, it feels natural to pop it in the fridge. After all, colder means fresher, right? Not always, especially not for peanut butter, and especially not for older adults. Let's talk about why. Peanut butter, particularly natural or organic kinds without added preservatives, contains monounsaturated fats, the same healthy fats found in olive oil and avocados. These fats are good for your heart, your brain, and your blood vessels. But here is what most people don't know. When peanut butter is stored in the fridge, these healthy oils harden. The texture becomes dense, stiff, and difficult to spread. And for someone dealing with arthritis, carpal tunnel, or reduced hand strength, that's not just a minor annoyance. It can be a barrier to eating altogether. Let me tell you about Mrs. Eleanor Grant, age 78. Eleanor lived alone in a cozy apartment near the city park. Every morning, she made a slice of toast with peanut butter, a tradition passed down from her mother. But over the past year, Eleanor had developed arthritis in her hands. She thought she could manage it. She kept her independence. Until one morning her hand slipped trying to scoop cold peanut butter. The knife slipped too. And she cut herself, badly enough to need stitches. "I felt foolish," she told her daughter. "It was just breakfast." But it wasn't just breakfast. It was a moment where a simple food turned from comfort to danger. Now let's look beyond texture. Cold peanut butter also experiences something called oxidation, especially when the jar is repeatedly moved from cold to room temperature and back again. Oxidation means the fats in the peanut butter start to degrade, and degraded fats create free radicals, which increase inflammation in the body. For seniors, inflammation is not just a buzzword, it's the root of many health problems: joint pain, memory loss, fatigue, even heart disease. So here's the quiet truth. By refrigerating peanut butter, you might be weakening your own immune system day by day. You can't see it, you can't taste it, but it's happening. There's another layer to this. Peanut butter is also one of the few foods seniors turn to for vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that helps protect the brain from oxidative stress. When stored improperly in cold, humid environments, this nutrient can diminish over time. Imagine that. The very food you rely on to stay sharp, focused, and healthy is slowly losing its power, all because of where it sits on your shelf. Let's talk emotional cost. For many older adults, food is more than fuel. It's a ritual, it's memory, it's identity. A stiff, unspreadable blob of peanut butter isn't just inconvenient. It's frustrating. It makes you feel less capable, less in control, and in a world where independence is already so precious, that matters more than most people realize. So what should you do? Here's the simple fix. Store peanut butter in a cool, dry pantry. Make sure the lid is tightly sealed. Keep it away from direct sunlight or the stove. Stir it gently before use, especially if it's natural and has separated. At room temperature, peanut butter remains soft, spreadable, and nutrient-rich. Your hands will thank you. So will your heart. And your brain. Eleanor now keeps a small note on her cupboard door. It says, "Pantry, not fridge. Soft hands, soft heart." She says it makes her smile every morning. This may seem like a small change, but for seniors, small changes often mean big differences. Less pain in the morning, more confidence making meals, stronger, steadier energy, and one less reason to feel dependent or defeated. If this resonates with you, if you've ever struggled with cold peanut butter or felt like your food is working against you, drop a 1 in the comments or share your experience. You never know who else might be going through the same thing. Dangerous mistake. Number 2, storing whole onions in the fridge. They sit quietly at the back of your vegetable drawer. Firm, brown-skinned, pungent. Onions, they're not glamorous. They're not sweet. But they are one of the most used ingredients in any kitchen. Soups, stews, stir-fries, they're the base, the foundation, the silent hero of flavor. But when you store them in the fridge, that quiet hero can become a silent threat. Here's the thing. Onions were never meant to live in the cold. They come from the earth, wrapped in papery skin, designed to stay fresh in dry, ventilated conditions. When you put whole onions into the cold, humid air of a refrigerator, their natural defenses start to break down. Moisture seeps into their layers. The firm skin softens. Mold begins to form, not just where you can see it, but inside, in hidden pockets between layers. And you might not notice until it's too late. Let me tell you about Mr. Joe Ramirez, 82. Joe lived in a small town where he made his famous chili every Sunday. He used 3 whole onions, chopped fresh, sautéed until golden. He always stored them in the fridge, thinking he was doing the right thing. But Joe started getting sick. Nothing dramatic, just bloated, tired, off. His doctor thought it was age, maybe digestion issues. But then one day Joe's daughter noticed the onions he'd pulled from the fridge. They looked fine, but smelled wrong. She peeled one open, dark spots inside, moldy threads between the layers. Joe had been chopping and eating onions laced with invisible bacteria for weeks. Once he switched to storing them in a dry pantry, the issues vanished. "Never again," he said. "Fridge doesn't know everything. Here's why this matters more as we age. Our immune systems weaken over time. What the body once shrugged off now sticks around. Mold that might have passed through your system in your 30s can now trigger stomach pain, digestive upset, even inflammatory flare-ups. And it's not just about mold, it's about nutrient loss. Onions contain quercetin, a natural anti-inflammatory compound that helps ease joint pain and lower blood pressure. But when stored cold and damp, this compound breaks down. The layers go soft, and so does the power they hold. Imagine that. You buy onions for health, for taste, for tradition, and lose everything just by putting them in the wrong place. There's also a practical side to this. Cold onions sweat when you take them out of the fridge. That moisture creates a slippery surface, making them harder and more dangerous to cut. For seniors with slower reflexes or weaker grip strength, that's a real risk. One slip with a sharp knife is all it takes. And then there's the emotional piece. Have you ever opened your fridge and smelled something off? You clean. You organize. But the smell lingers. It might be your onions. That lingering scent of rot, of bitterness, it changes how you feel in the kitchen. It dulls your appetite. It steals the joy of cooking. And for seniors, where food is often memory, connection, and care, that matters. Here's the better way. Keep whole onions in a basket or mesh bag in a dry, cool part of your kitchen. Avoid plastic bags. They trap moisture. Never store them near potatoes. The gases they release can speed up spoilage. Only refrigerate cut onions, and even then, seal them tightly and use within 2 to 3 days. By storing onions correctly, you preserve their crispness, their healing compounds, and their delicious bite. Mr. Ramirez now keeps his onions in a little woven basket near the window. He calls it his chili corner. He hasn't felt bloated in months. This isn't about fear. It's about wisdom, the kind that says, if something feels off, maybe it is. And maybe the fix is easier than you think. If you've ever smelled something strange in your fridge and couldn't figure it out, if you've cut into an onion that didn't look right, leave a opinion in the comments, or tell your story. You're not alone. Next, we'll talk about a fruit you've probably eaten this week, and how refrigerating it may be quietly stealing the nutrients your brain and heart need the most. Dangerous mistake. Number 3, chilling bananas. They're soft, sweet, comforting bananas. For many of us, they were the first fruit we ate as children, and one of the last we hold on to in older age. Easy to peel, gentle on the stomach, rich in potassium and natural sugars. Bananas feel like nature's perfect snack. But here's the surprise. The refrigerator is the worst place you can put them, especially if you're hoping to protect your health in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. Let's take a closer look. Bananas are tropical fruits. They grow in warm, humid climates. Their skins and enzymes are built to ripen at room temperature, not in the cold. So what happens when you put them in the fridge? The peel turns dark and mottled, even black. The fruit inside loses flavor and becomes rubbery or grainy. The natural ripening process, the transformation of starch into sugar, stalls. At first, it just seems like a cosmetic issue. But underneath that blackening skin, something more important is happening. The nutrients in your banana are breaking down. Let me tell you about Mrs. Susan Bloom, age 76. Every morning, Susan would cut half a banana into her oatmeal. She thought she was doing everything right. But her grandson, visiting from college, noticed something odd. "Grandma," he said, "why are your bananas in the fridge?" "I always do that so they last longer," she replied. But they weren't lasting. They were turning dark, losing their smell. Worse, Susan was starting to feel different. Her energy lagged. Her moods shifted quickly. Her memory, once so sharp, seemed fuzzier than usual. Her doctor ran tests, no signs of illness. But when Susan casually mentioned the bananas, he raised an eyebrow. "Bananas are rich in dopamine and catechins," he said. "They support your mood, your memory. But not if they've been chilled. Cold damages those compounds." That week, Susan started storing them in a fruit bowl instead. Within days, the bananas were tastier, softer, and slowly her energy came back. The science backs this up. Bananas contain dopamine, supports emotional stability, catechins, powerful antioxidants that reduce inflammation, vitamin B6, essential for brain health. When bananas are refrigerated, these compounds begin to degrade, especially if the fruit is overripe when chilled. You might still be eating a banana, but what you're not getting is the nourishment. There's another risk too, moisture under the skin. Refrigerated bananas, especially once they're overripe, develop tiny pockets of condensation. That can create a breeding ground for mold near the stem, invisible at first. For someone with a strong immune system, it's usually harmless. But for older adults, especially those with chronic illness, low white blood cell counts, or poor gut health, it can lead to nausea, bloating, even a weakened immune response. And when you already feel tired, achy, or off, that's a risk you don't need. But here's what hurts the most. Chilled bananas lose their purpose. They stop being the easy, nutrient-dense, feel-good snack you relied on. They become bland, mushy, and emotionally disappointing. And for seniors, when every meal should feel like a source of strength, a connection to self, this small betrayal matters. Here's the better way. Store bananas at room temperature, ideally on a hook or hanging basket. If they're ripening too fast, peel and freeze them for smoothies or baking. Don't store them in plastic bags. They trap moisture. Keep them away from apples and other ethylene-producing fruits if you want to slow ripening. Mrs. Bloom now has a little banana stand on her kitchen counter. She says it reminds her to treat her food like it's alive. Because it is. And now, so is she. If you've ever pulled a banana from the fridge and wondered why it tasted strange, or why your morning energy felt a little off, know this: it wasn't just you. It was a fruit out of its element. And you can fix that, starting today. Drop a 1 in the comments if this made you rethink how you store your fruit, or share your banana story. Someone else may be going through the same thing. Now let us move to a mistake that's even more serious, because it involves something most of us eat every day, and when stored wrong, can make you seriously sick. Dangerous mistake. 4. Leaving cooked meat at room temperature. There's nothing quite like a home-cooked meal. The warmth of the kitchen, the smell of roast chicken, the soft hum of a simmering stew. For many older adults, cooking brings comfort, purpose, and memories. And when dinner is done, what's the usual habit? Let it cool, leave it out for a bit. Then, eventually, into the fridge. But here's where things quietly go wrong. Leaving cooked meat at room temperature, even for just a little too long, can become dangerous. Let me tell you about Mr. Harold Green, 80. Harold had been cooking since he lost his wife. It was his therapy, his pride. Every Sunday he made a big batch of beef stew, let it sit on the counter while he cleaned up, then tucked it away in the fridge later. He did this for years, but one Sunday evening, something changed. He felt off, dizzy, confused. The next morning, he had a fever. His daughter took him to urgent care. The diagnosis? Listeria infection, likely from improperly stored meat. His stew had sat out just a little too long. Here's the science. Once meat is cooked, it's no longer protected by heat. The moment it begins to cool, bacteria like Listeria, Clostridium perfringens, and Salmonella begin to multiply. And they multiply fast. By the 2-hour mark, especially in a warm kitchen, those bacteria can reach dangerous levels. And here's the thing. You won't see it. You won't smell it. The meat might look and taste perfectly fine, but inside, a ticking time bomb. For a younger person, this might cause some stomach upset, but for seniors, it can mean hospitalization, severe dehydration, days, even weeks of fatigue, in some cases, worse. And here's why it's even more dangerous. Symptoms in older adults are subtle. Food poisoning may not show up as a stomachache. It might look like dizziness, mild confusion, loss of appetite, joint pain, low-grade fever. Symptoms that mimic common signs of aging or a bad day. That means it's easy to miss until it's too late. Harold was lucky. He recovered, but it scared him. "I thought I was being careful," he said. "I just didn't know time mattered that much." So here's what you can do. Simple, powerful, and potentially life-saving. Don't wait more than 2 hours to refrigerate cooked meat or any hot dish. In warm rooms, above 85°, 30°C, refrigerate within 1 hour. Use shallow containers to help food cool faster before storage. Label leftovers with the date. Most cooked dishes are safe for 3 to 4 days max. If in doubt, throw it out. Better a tossed dish than a trip to the ER. And here's a little trick Harold learned. He sets a kitchen timer for 90 minutes as soon as he finishes dinner. When it rings, he knows it's time to refrigerate. "No more guessing," he says. "I trust the timer more than my memory now." Here's the emotional truth, too. For older adults, cooking is often about independence. The idea that a simple meal could turn into a health risk feels like betrayal. But knowledge restores that independence. You can still cook your favorite dishes. You can enjoy your kitchen. You just need a few tweaks to make your space safer, smarter. And your body. It will thank you. If you've ever left leftovers out just a little too long, or felt unsure whether something was still safe to eat, this message is for you. Drop a 1 if you've done it. No shame, just honesty. Because we all want the same thing: to eat well, live fully, and feel strong doing it. Now for the final mistake in this series, we'll talk about a food group most of us think is always safe: dairy. But when handled the wrong way, it can trigger problems deeper than an upset stomach. Dangerous mistake. Number 5. Improperly storing dairy products. It's the little things. A splash of milk in your coffee, a slice of cheese with toast, a spoonful of yogurt after dinner. Dairy is woven into the fabric of everyday life, especially for seniors. It comforts, it nourishes, it reminds us of home, of childhood, of meals we've shared across generations. But here's the truth. If dairy isn't kept cold, and kept cold properly, it can quietly harm your health. Let's meet Ms. Lillian Hayes, 79. Lillian loved a good breakfast: yogurt, granola, and berries. She bought her groceries on Mondays and prepped for the week. But one morning, her stomach rebelled. Then came the joint aches, a rash, and 3 days of relentless fatigue. She thought it was the flu. Her doctor asked a simple question: "When do you eat the yogurt you prep on Mondays?" "Usually by Thursday or Friday," she said. "Do you keep it sealed, and do you check the temperature of your fridge?" She paused. That pause said everything. Dairy is high in proteins and fats, great for your bones, your brain, your energy. But those same nutrients also make it the perfect breeding ground for bacteria if it's left out too long, or if your fridge isn't cold enough. We're talking about Listeria, which survives and grows at refrigerator temperatures, E. coli, and Salmonella, which can contaminate from unsealed packaging, Staphylococcus aureus, which causes nausea, cramps, and low-grade fever. And for seniors, the impact is amplified. Weaker immune systems, slower digestion, higher risk of dehydration, longer recovery time. All from that innocent spoonful of yogurt or a bite of cheese. And it gets worse when the fridge itself is not cold enough. Many older refrigerators don't maintain proper temperatures. The ideal is below 40 degrees, 4 degrees C, but fridges often drift higher, especially if the door is opened often or if the thermostat is faulty. Lillian's fridge was 46 degrees, just high enough to allow bacteria to multiply, silently, invisibly. Let's not forget expiration dates. Dairy isn't a smell test food. Just because it looks and smells fine doesn't mean it's safe. Pasteurized dairy can still harbor bacteria if left too long or stored improperly. And once you eat it, the signs may come days later: fatigue, inflammation, gastrointestinal issues, confusion or brain fog. And if you're managing conditions like arthritis, heart disease, or IBS, bad dairy can worsen your symptoms significantly. So what's the fix? It's simple, but vital. Keep your fridge at or below 40 degrees, 40 degrees. Buy a cheap thermometer to check. Always seal dairy items tightly after use. No open tubs or lids askew. Don't leave milk or cheese on the table during meals. Return to fridge immediately. Eat yogurt, cheese, and milk within the date. Don't push it, even if it smells fine. Wipe spills quickly. Moist areas inside the fridge invite mold. Ms. Hayes now keeps a small note on her fridge: 40 degrees or below. When in doubt, throw it out. She hasn't had another stomach episode since. And one last point. For many of us, the kitchen is a place of confidence, of routine, of pride. Admitting that something as simple as yogurt could hurt you? That's hard, but knowledge is power. When you store dairy the right way, it becomes what it's meant to be: a source of calcium for stronger bones, a supplier of probiotics for gut health, a gentle, nourishing food for your aging body. And that's worth the effort. If this made you check your fridge temp or look twice at your yogurt seal, let me know. Drop a 1 in the comments or share your story. You might help someone else avoid a quiet, preventable mistake. Now that we've uncovered these 5 risky habits, it's time to flip the page, because knowing what not to do is just the beginning. Up next, I'll show you 5 simple, easy-to-apply solutions that protect your health, support your independence, and bring joy back into your kitchen. Solution number 1: Pantry wisdom. What to store. Outside the fridge. Sometimes the best solutions aren't new. They're just remembered. Back before every kitchen had a fridge, we relied on instinct, airflow, and common sense to store our food. And guess what? Some of those old ways were right all along. Today, we return to that wisdom. Because for some foods, especially natural, shelf-stable ones, the fridge is not their friend. Let's start with a simple truth. Cold doesn't mean clean. And cool isn't always right. There are foods that thrive in the open air, in a dark cabinet, or on a simple hook by the window. When you refrigerate them, they lose flavor, nutrients, or texture, and sometimes they even turn harmful. Here's a list every senior should keep near the fridge. Do not refrigerate. Peanut butter, natural kinds especially, whole onions, garlic, bananas, potatoes, tomatoes, honey bread, if eaten within 3 days, avocados, before they ripen. Let's take potatoes, for example. In the fridge, their starch turns to sugar. This changes their texture and taste. But worse, when you cook them later, especially if you fry or bake them, those sugars can form acrylamide, a compound linked to inflammation and nerve sensitivity. You're not just changing the potato's texture, you're creating stress for your body. Now contrast that with storing them in a cool, dark basket under the counter. No cold, no transformation, just good food doing what it's meant to do. Real story. Mrs. Helen Cho, age 81, used to refrigerate everything. After her husband passed, she was afraid of food going bad, but her hands ached every time she tried to slice a chilled avocado. Her bananas spoiled too fast. Her toast was always dry. Her grandson bought her a bamboo produce rack for her counter. "Just give it a week," he said. She never turned back. "The flavors came back," she said, "and so did my joy in eating." Let's not forget garlic and onions. These two store best in open-air baskets or mesh bags. When stored right, they stay firm, flavorful, and medicinal. That's right, medicinal. Garlic contains allicin, a natural antimicrobial compound. But when garlic goes soft or moldy in the fridge, that benefit fades. So yes, by keeping garlic in a basket, you're not just honoring tradition, you're healing yourself. So here's your action plan. Designate a dry zone in your kitchen. A drawer, a basket, a corner that's away from sunlight and heat. Use breathable storage, mesh bags, baskets, paper bags. Label and rotate. If something's sitting too long, move it forward. Write down your do not refrigerate list and tape it on your fridge as a reminder. Explain it to your caregiver, spouse, or adult children so they don't tidy up and undo your efforts. One final tip. Make it beautiful. Get a banana hook. Use a ceramic bowl for your garlic. Turn your pantry corner into a space that feels intentional, not forgotten. Because food that sits proudly on your counter reminds you, nourishment does not have to hide in the cold. Sometimes, the warmth of tradition is the healthiest thing of all. If this gave you a new idea, or helped you remember something old that worked, leave a 1 below. And if you've created a pantry space that brings you joy, share a photo or tip. You might inspire someone else. Next, we'll talk about how to set up your kitchen so it works with your body, not against it. Solution number 2. Kitchen layout tips for seniors with arthritis or weak grip. A kitchen should welcome you. It should feel like a friend, not a battlefield. But for many older adults, the kitchen becomes a place of small struggles, tight lids, heavy jars, awkward shelves, cold handles. Every task, once simple, now demands effort. And when your hands hurt, or your grip isn't what it used to be, that effort can be exhausting. But here's the good news. With a few smart changes, your kitchen can feel like home again. Let's start with what really matters. Ease of access. For seniors with arthritis, weak grip strength or limited mobility, reaching, twisting, and pulling become daily frustrations. So instead of pushing through pain, let's adjust the space to fit you, not the other way around. 5 simple layout changes. You can make this week. Lower frequently used items. Stop storing the peanut butter on the top shelf, or the heavy blender way in the back of a cabinet. Instead, keep everyday items between waist and shoulder height. Use pull-out drawers or baskets inside cabinets. Place heavier items like milk or soup cans at hip level, never on the floor or high shelves. Use open containers and wide mouth jars. Tight lids are the enemy of weak hands. Look for ergonomic jar openers. Silicone grips mason jars with flip lids or hinged glass containers. No more fighting with the peanut butter at 7 a.m. Install a Lazy Susan or rotating tray, perfect for spices, condiments, oil bottles. A simple spin can replace a painful stretch or twist. Choose tools with larger handles. Knives, peelers, measuring spoons, they should all feel comfortable in your hand. Arthritis-friendly kitchen tools are widely available now. Soft, non-slip handles, weighted utensils, one-handed can openers. These are not luxuries. They're essentials for independence. Design a one-spot prep zone. Instead of walking back and forth, place a cutting board near the fridge and trash. Use a countertop compost bin or bowl for scraps. Keep tools like knives, bowls, and towels within arm's reach. Efficiency means less strain, less risk, and more confidence. Real story. Mr. George, 77, used to avoid cooking because the pain wasn't worth it. His daughter noticed he was losing weight and eating only toast and canned soup. Together, they reorganized his kitchen. They added a rolling cart next to the stove, swapped out tight-lidded jars for magnetic spice tins, lowered the microwave to counter height. Within days, George was making scrambled eggs again. "Not fancy," he said, "but I made it myself." And that mattered. Bonus tips. Use rubber shelf liners to keep things from sliding. Keep a stool with back support nearby if you need to rest while prepping. Label everything with large print stickers for easier reading. These changes aren't about giving in to age. They're about honoring your body as it is today. About designing a kitchen that supports your energy and dignity. Because every slice of toast, every warm cup of soup you make yourself, that's independence. That's strength. If any of these ideas gave you a spark or reminded you of something you've done to make life easier, leave a 1 below. Share a tip that helped your hands or your heart. Next, we'll talk about something even more time-sensitive. How to handle leftovers and cooked foods safely, without fear or confusion. Solution number 3. Smart leftover rules, timers, labels, and mindful habits. There's something comforting about leftovers. The smell of yesterday's soup still lingering in the bowl. A casserole you love too much to throw away. A second meal, already prepared, waiting for you. Leftovers are more than convenience. They're continuity, a way to stretch time, money, and energy. But here's the truth. If not handled properly, leftovers can turn against you. And for seniors, that risk is higher, but very preventable. Let's talk about the 3 golden rules of leftovers. Time. Temperature, 3. Tracking. Get these right, and your fridge becomes your ally again. Time. Don't leave it out too long. Once food is cooked, the clock starts ticking. Bacteria multiply quickly at room temperature, especially in meat, rice, and dairy. You can't see them, you can't smell them, but they're there. The 2-hour rule is your safest bet. Within 2 hours of cooking, food should be refrigerated. In warm kitchens, above 85 degrees or 30 degrees C, reduce that to 1 hour. Tip: set a kitchen timer after every meal. When it dings, it's fridge time. To temperature, chill it the right way. Don't just toss hot food into the fridge. Doing so can warm up the fridge, slow down cooling, create condensation, moisture, mold risk. Here's how to chill food quickly and safely. Split big portions into smaller containers. Use shallow containers, no deeper than 2 inches. Let food cool on the counter for 20-30 minutes, max, then refrigerate. And always check your fridge temperature regularly. It should be below 40 degrees, 5 degrees. Tracking, date and label. Your leftovers. This is the step most people skip, and it's where danger creeps in. You pull out a tub of stew. No label, No idea if it's 2 days old or 7. And the nose test? Not reliable. Bacteria doesn't always smell. The rule of thumb: eat refrigerated leftovers within 3 to 4 days. Label every container with the date it was stored. Use large print stickers or masking tape and a bold marker. Make it easy. Make it visible. Make it automatic. Real story. Ms. Diane, 75, kept getting stomach bugs. Her doctor suspected IBS, but nothing worked. Then her daughter visited and found 7 unlabeled containers in her fridge. Some were nearly 2 weeks old. Diane had forgotten. They made a simple change. Diane now has a leftovers basket in her fridge, and her daughter gave her a digital labeler with big fonts. No guessing anymore, Diane said, and I haven't had an upset stomach since. Bonus habits that help. Keep a whiteboard on your fridge listing leftovers and the date made. Use clear containers. You see what's inside at a glance. Practice first in, first out. Eat older food first. This isn't about fear, it's about peace of mind. Because when you know your leftovers are safe, you're more likely to eat well and eat with joy. No anxiety, no surprises, just nourishment. If you've ever forgotten how old something in your fridge was, leave a 1 in the comments. If you've come up with a system that works for you, share it. Your solution might help someone else stay safe and strong. Up next, we'll take your food storage even further with Solution d'Après. 4. The 2-zone refrigerator. Setup. A way to organize your fridge so everything is in the right place at the right temperature. Solution number 4. The 2-zone refrigerator. Setup. Open your fridge. What do you see? A little bit of everything. Stacked, tucked, crammed into corners. Milk beside fruit. Eggs above leftovers. A mystery container in the back. It's a familiar scene. But here is the truth. Where you put food in the fridge matters as much as what you put in there. Especially for seniors, where small mistakes can have big effects. How your fridge is organized can either protect your health or slowly undermine it. That's why today we build a better system. It's called the 2-zone setup, and it's simpler than you think. What are the 2 zones? Zone 1. Danger control, the lower shelf and back areas. This is the coldest part of the fridge. It's where perishable, bacteria-prone items should live. Put here: cooked meats, leftovers dairy, milk, cheese, yogurt, leafy greens in the crisper drawer, eggs if you don't have a separate egg drawer. These are the items that can turn dangerous the fastest if not kept cold. Why the back? Because the temperature near the door fluctuates every time it opens. The back and lower areas stay steady. Zone 2, nutrient preservers, the middle and upper shelves. This is for items that are safe, but lose nutrients or flavor when too cold, or that are used more frequently. Put here: berries and fruit, store in containers lined with paper towel. Herbs, wrapped in damp towel, inside a container. Nut butters, if you must refrigerate, though room temp is better. Cooked grains and pasta condiments, low risk but best kept cooler. What about the door? Think of the door as the soft zone. This area is not cold enough for dairy, meat, or leftovers. Use it for sauces, jams, pickles, water bottles, mustard, ketchup, soy sauce, not milk, not eggs, not yogurt. Real story: Mr. Bill, 83, had frequent flare-ups in his arthritis and gut inflammation. His daughter discovered he stored milk and cheese in the door, where the temperature swung by 10 degrees every time he reached for water. They moved all dairy to the back shelf. Within 2 weeks, his symptoms eased. "The cheese tastes better too," he said. Make it easy on yourself. Use clear bins to group items by type: meat, dairy, fruit, leftovers. Add labels or color-coded dots: red, mashor, use soon; green, tashor, safe. Store food in flat, stackable containers to prevent tipping. Keep a fridge thermometer inside. Below 40 degrees Celsius is best. Bonus habit: clean out day. Pick a day, every week or every other week, and check what's expired, what needs to be eaten soon, what's migrated to the back and been forgotten. Even 10 minutes can save you from a stomachache, or worse. This two-zone system isn't just about order. It's about peace. It's about walking into your kitchen and knowing your food is working for you, not against you. Because in these years of life, every meal should support your energy, your immunity, your clarity. If this inspired you to reorganize your fridge, or you already do something similar, leave a 1 in the comments. Or share a fridge tip that's made your life easier. Now, for our final and most powerful solution. Solution number 5. Memory-saving foods and how to protect their nutrients. These are foods that fuel your brain, but they're fragile and need special care. Solution number 5. Memory-saving foods and how to protect their nutrients. You walk into a room and forget why. You reach for a name, but it slips away. It happens to all of us. But when it starts to happen more often, it can feel unsettling, like little pieces of who we are begin to blur. But here's something hopeful. Your brain is still hungry for care. And many of the nutrients that protect your memory, like folate, B vitamins, and antioxidants, are right in your kitchen. The catch? These nutrients are fragile, and if stored wrong, they disappear silently. Let S focus on the top 5 brain-supporting foods for seniors and how to store them properly to protect every drop of benefit. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, romaine, Swiss chard, rich in folate, supports cognitive function. Vitamin K, improves focus and circulation. Lutein, protects eyes and brain cells. The risk, these nutrients degrade within 48-72 hours if stored incorrectly. How to store. Wrap greens in a dry paper towel. Place in a breathable container or produce bag. Keep in the crisper drawer. Do not wash until ready to eat. Moisture to spoilage. Blueberries loaded with anthocyanins, reduce brain inflammation. Vitamin C, protects against cognitive decline. The risk, improper storage, mold growth, nutrient loss, mushy texture. How to store. Keep dry line a container with paper towel. Place berries in a single layer. Leave the lid slightly ajar for air circulation. Do not wash until ready to eat. 3. Eggs rich in choline, critical for memory and learning. B12, helps protect nerves and brain function. The risk. When eggs are stored in the fridge door, the fluctuating temperature can reduce freshness and increase bacterial risk. How to store. Keep in original carton store on a middle or bottom shelf. Never the door use within 3 to 4 weeks. Boiled eggs, eat within 1 week. Pressure. Walnuts, a plant-based source of omega-3s, fuel for the brain. Vitamin E, reduces brain inflammation. The risk, walnuts go rancid quickly if exposed to light, air, or heat. How to store. Place in airtight glass jars. Store in a dark pantry or fridge, if long-term. Smell before eating. Rancid walnuts lose their benefits. Turmeric and spices, like cinnamon, sage. Contain curcumin in turmeric. Improves memory, antioxidants. Support mood and cognition. The risk, light and humidity destroy their potency. How to store. Keep in dark glass jars. Store in a cool, dry spice drawer. Don't place above the stove. Heat rises and weakens them. Real story, Mrs. Clarice, 80, kept her brain food list taped to the fridge. She made 1 smoothie a day, blueberries, spinach, walnuts, and a dash of turmeric. But for weeks, her berries spoiled quickly. Her greens turned slimy. Then her grandson helped her reorganize her fridge. They used glass containers with vents. They labeled Eat First baskets. They moved turmeric to a dark spice drawer. And suddenly, she had less waste, fewer slips in memory, more energy. It's not a cure, she said, but it helps me feel sharper. And that feels like winning. Bonus tips for brain food. Freeze extra berries and spinach before they wilt. Great for smoothies. Pair walnuts with dark chocolate for extra cognitive support. Keep a memory tray in the fridge with your top brain boosters grouped together. This solution isn't about becoming a different person. It's about supporting the brilliant, thoughtful person you already are, with foods that work with your mind, not against it. Because memory isn't just about remembering facts. It's about remembering yourself. If this sparked an idea or reminded you of a food you love but haven't it stored right, leave a 1 in the comments. And if you have a memory-boosting recipe or routine, share it. You might help someone else feel a little more clear tomorrow. Now, it's time to bring everything together. You've made it. You've walked through quiet risks, simple changes, and powerful truths. One meal, one shelf, one habit at a time. And maybe, somewhere along the way, you realized something. It's not about the fridge. It's not about the peanut butter, or the onions, or the bananas. It's about you. It's about your body, still trying, still adapting. It's about your wisdom, still growing. And it's about your right, every single day, to feel strong, clear, and cared for. Because your health is not a mystery. It's a series of small, powerful choices. Let's go back to the beginning. Remember that moment when your banana tasted off, or your leftovers didn't sit right? Now you know why. Now you know what to refrigerate and what to leave in the pantry. You know how long food stays safe and where it belongs in your fridge. You know how to protect your brain, your heart, and your hands. One container, one label, one shelf at a time. And that knowledge, that's freedom. So now I ask you, what's one thing you'll do this week? Maybe move the onions out of the fridge. Maybe start labeling leftovers. Maybe teach your grandchild how to store berries properly. Whatever it is, know this. It matters. Because when you protect your food, you protect your energy. When you organize your kitchen, you organize your peace. And when you share what you've learned, you give someone else a safer, clearer tomorrow. So please, take this message and do something gentle with it. Rearrange one shelf. Toss one expired container. Share this wisdom with someone who might need it more than you know. Because the best kind of health tip isn't the one you keep. It's the one you pass on. If this story gave you clarity, hope, or a helpful moment, drop a 1 in the comments. If you're already doing one of these tips, tell us. Your story might change someone else's life. And if you want more honest, senior-friendly health insights like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because you deserve to feel safe in your kitchen. You deserve to feel strong in your skin. And you deserve to live every day on your own terms, healthy, nourished, and proud. Thank you for being here, for listening, for caring. Now go do something kind. For your body, your kitchen, or someone you love.